Paul Finebaum admits nearly being fired by ESPN, and how Nick Saban's support changed everything. Merriam-Webster defines journalism as collecting and editing of news to be presented online, in newspapers or magazines, or over television or radio, as simple as journalism can seem, in the 1990s. Paul Finebaum arrived in sports journalism and shook it to its core. So, like John Keating in Dead Poets Society, rips up the pages of a poetry textbook, redefining how poetry should be perceived. Just like that, the arrival of Finebaum in the 1990s with his The Paul Finebaum Show was akin to ripping out the pages of books like Merriam-Webster, which defined classic ideas of sports journalism. In a sense, Paul Finebaum brought not just a new way of doing sportscasting, but championed a fan-driven and provocative approach that took the college football world by storm. But not everyone became a fan of it, and Jim Harbaugh even called Finebaum an unabashed sec water carrier. Yet, despite the criticisms, Finebaum endured with his approach and 40-odd years is carrying the same legacy, the ripple effects of which are felt even today whenever he sits in that press box. Just ask Lane Kiffin, whom Finebaum called the Miley Cyrus of college football, and you will know just how much influence he carried. Moreover, according to Kiffin, Finebaum got him fired from the Trojans as he predicted Kiffin's firing if he lost to Arizona State, with USC's president watching Finebaum's show. The result: the team lost, and Finebaum's words might have rung repeatedly like a fly for the USC president as Kiffin got fired after all. Lane Kiffin is the Miley Cyrus of college football. He has very little talent, but we simply can't take our eyes off him, said Finebaum. So, because of these moments, controversies never really left Finebaum alone, and despite being present in the media scene for 30 years, a major opportunity might not have fallen into Finebaum's lap if not for Saban. In 2014, ESPN launched its SEC network, and Finebaum's controversies were not dialing down. At that time, ESPN pondered sidelining him. As Finebaum recalled, no one would speak to me. Why? This was because of his harsh take on Lane Kiffin, whom apparently everyone loved at the studio. Still, having the respect of the legendary Nick Saban landed in Finebaum's favor. I knew the power he had with our fan base, and I thought he had a pretty good perspective most of the time. Now, if you think he's always going to rub your neck, you've got another thing coming, said Nick Saban. Surely. Finebaum initially rode Nick Saban and Alabama's bogey by predicting Saban's success back in 2007, and stayed true to it for many years. Still, if you think Saban dodged Finebaum's harsh takes, then it would be your biggest misconception. It's been happening very slowly for a couple of years. The dynasty isn't dead, but the window is closing, said Finebaum after Alabama lost to LSU and Auburn in the 2019 season. Even in 2023, when Saban was at the cusp of his retirement, Finebaum dared to question the Bama legend's legacy if he missed the playoffs. Yet, despite these harsh and quite controversial takes, the mutual respect lived on. And that might be one of the reasons why ESPN's president, Burke Magnus at the time, chose Finebaum to lead the SEC network. That may be one of the reasons. Finebaum still has a soft spot for Saban in his heart, as he is trying to save the legend's legacy. Paul Finebaum saves Nick Saban's legacy amid CFB Commissioner talks. The horse has finally left the barn, and one might expect, just like that, Nick Saban won't be making his return to Alabama. But if you ask Bama fans, those guys have only known Saban and people associated with him in recent memory, even for college football fans in general. Nick Saban is a revered figure enough to command a lasting presence wherever his name is taken. So, in that spirit, there were widespread discussions of Nick Saban's comeback to college football as CFB commissioner. But Finebaum was having none of it. "I think the solution to college football is you need to quit wasting time being on TV. And you need to be what everybody in my business has suggested. You need to be the czar of college football. If you agree to that right now, we can solve a lot of problems," said Finebaum. Finebaum was not really bashing Saban's legacy, but rather saving him from being embroiled in the Wild West scenario that college football has become. Of course, the idea of a CFB commissioner is enticing, but Saban's legacy is unimpeached, and with that added responsibility of CFB commissioner, there could be accusations of bias, etc., even if Saban remains objectively unbiased. At least, that's the nature of the college football world, right? Now, someone somewhere will be left unsatisfied. So, for Saban, the retirement might not be the end of his CFB career, but the idea of becoming a CFB commissioner, it should never be explored.